Welcome everybody to the webinar, Start Building Applications on the Cloud. Just full transparency, today I'll be talking more about Microsoft Azure, which is Microsoft's cloud, but I'll also on a very high level talk about other cloud providers. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask. Halima, I can't see the comment section, so if there's a question there, just like tell me and I'll talk about it. So this is the agenda. First of all, I'll start by talking about myself. Then I'll talk about Africode, and then we'll dive into what the cloud is. I'll talk about the benefits of the cloud. But we're going to spend a lot more time on hands-on lab and demo. So get ready to kind of dig into Azure, which is a Microsoft cloud, like I said, a little bit more. By the end of this webinar, you would understand where Microsoft Cloud is as compared to other cloud providers. You would also understand how to start leveraging some Azure services. I'll explain what all these things are by the end of this webinar. We'll spin up virtual machines as well, Windows and Linux. I'm probably going to do just Linux, but I'll show you guys how to do the one in Windows. It's really the same thing. It's very easy. We'll create a web application and host it on Azure. We already have web applications created, so I'll just show you the different ways you can host it on Azure, and we'll use GitHub for that. I'll talk about scaling up and down virtual machines behind a web application. So let's say, for instance, you have a lot of people accessing your web page. How can you make sure that it's responsive? We'll talk a little bit more about that. And then lastly, how do you monitor your services, right? So if there's something that's wrong with it, how do you get alerts around those things? So by the end of the webinar, these are all the things that you should know. So let's start by talking about myself. My name is Adebisi Oje. I am the CEO and founder of Africode.org. I'm also solutions architect at Microsoft. As the CEO and founder of Africode, I am involved with planning all of our Africode events. So whether it's AfricodeX, which is what you're on today, we have a mentors program as well, and also our African community. I'm in charge of just the strategy and ensuring that we are making impact. As the solutions architect at Microsoft, I work with a lot of companies, and so my role is as a technical advisor, basically. So I'm advising the C-suite of companies, CEOs and CTOs, and all the way down to developers on how to start building applications on the cloud, specifically Microsoft Azure. Whether they're new to the cloud or already on the cloud, and looking for a way to increase their impact, their business impact. So I'm basically just an advisor doing that. I'm based out of the New York office. That is what I look like. That is me wearing a HoloLens. That's the first time I tried it on. I was actually touring Paris at the time. It was very, very amazing. It was, as you can see from my mouth, I was just in pure awe. That technology is amazing. So that's me at Microsoft in Redmond trying the HoloLens on. So what is Africode? Africode, our mission is to ensure that every African in tech is successful. And currently we do that in 3 ways. The first is we have a mentorship program where we pair up students in college studying computer science or math or electrical engineering or computer engineering. We pair them up with people in industry like myself. And the goal is to ensure that they graduate with a computer science degree or like whatever degree they're studying. And so while they're in school, we help them with their resumes, LinkedIn profile, interviewing skills. We try to help them get internships. This year we have a couple going to Google. We have a couple going to startups. We have a couple going to Goldman Sachs. So that was very successful this year. We also have AfricodeX. Right now, you are in AfricodeX. We do this once a month. We get together and talk about cool technologies like the cloud. Microsoft just announced 2 data centers in Africa coming in 2018. So this is very timely for us. And then lastly, we have the African tech community. And so I'll show you quickly how to join. If you go to africode.org, I already have it kind of open here. This is our website. You can click join the African tech community. For some reason, my computer is slow today, so I have it open up here. And then you can just join the community. It's a really easy form. It takes literally 30 seconds. But here, we get to connect with you. We post jobs, job openings. And so I work with people to make sure that they are the right fit for the job, and I kind of connect them with recruiters as well. And if you're looking for people to code with, things like that, this is really the place to do that. So join the Africode Tech community if you're on the call already. Okay, so let's get started on what we're actually talking about today. What is the cloud? I don't know if anybody on the call wants to volunteer to tell me what they think the cloud is. Just one person. Anybody?
I mean, I could venture something. I don't know if it will be very accurate. I doubt it will be, but I could try. But I think the cloud could be thought of as, I don't know, like a pool of resources and computer space essentially that is hosted on the web that people can, I guess, using certain platforms like Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud, pay to use for a period of time. And so these things can run complex computations, or I don't know, whatever processes that you want to run. So it's just like space on the net to that you can pay for or get to run the service that you're trying to provide, I guess.
Thank you. Yes. So on a very, very, very high level. So at least for me, the first time that I got introduced to the cloud was when I got an iPhone, and they'll tell me, oh, storage in the iCloud. So that was my first. I didn't understand the concept, but on a very, very, very basic level, the cloud is just another computer somewhere else. So this is the way that I like illustrate it, right? So usually when you take pictures on your phone, you store it on your phone, but assume that the memory on your phone is out. You want to store the pictures on another computer somewhere else. That is what the cloud is. They're basically just computer servers somewhere else. That's on a very high level what the cloud is. I don't want to go into a lot of details, but it's basically just a data center that you're accessing, right? So you can access the cloud from your computer, from your iPad, your phone. All that is connected to some data center somewhere. So it's basically just another server somewhere. It's just not the server or the memory on your phone or your device. So that's what the cloud is at a very high level. I hope for some people that didn't understand what it was, that kind of clarifies. Again, it's just another computer or a server somewhere else, and you're storing information on that server. So this is a little bit technical, but I wanted to share with you guys some of the cloud lingo that you would probably come across as you're talking about the cloud. The words are on-premise, infrastructure as a service, which is called IaaS, platform as a service, which is referred to as PaaS, and software as a service, which is referred to as SaaS. So to describe this, I'm going to give you an example. So let's say, for instance, you want to build a website. You just want to build a website that allows people to just talk about African technologies or something like that. You just want to build a web application. If you go the on-premise route, what would happen is that you would have to buy your own server. You would have to buy your own operating system on the server. You have to then build a hosting service for your web application. You have to make sure that the server is able to connect to the internet, and then you would then have to build the website and host it on the server. So just imagine how long that takes. So that's what on-premise is. So you have your own server. Think of it like in your own house, or think of like your own computer, right? So you have your own server. You have to make sure that you have the right operating system. So you have to deploy Windows or Linux on it. I mean, that just takes a long time. So that's on-premise. So you manage everything yourself. Infrastructure as a service, right? You can leverage the cloud for this. So this is where the cloud kind of comes into place, right? So instead of going to get your own service, you're going to be leveraging something like Microsoft Azure or AWS, which is Amazon's cloud, or Google Cloud, for instance, for their server, right? But still, you're still responsible for the operating system. You're responsible for making sure that machine is connected to the internet. So you just have like a remote access to it. You're responsible again for making sure that it's hosted somewhere. You're responsible for building the web application. Again, that's going to take some time, but on some level at least, the cloud provider is going to manage some part of it for you. With platform as a service, think of it as, okay, somebody has then created kind of like a hosting service for you. So you don't have to worry about, the server. You also don't have to worry about the operating system that it runs on. All you need to worry about is building your own web application. And then you now host it on, the hosting service, which will be like Microsoft Azure. And that's actually what we're going to be doing today. We'll be hosting a web application on Microsoft Azure, and that's a PaaS service, because all we're going to be doing is creating the website. Microsoft Azure takes care of the computer that it's stored on, the operating system. We don't have to worry about that. And lastly, we have software as a service. So let's say that, like I said, you wanted to create a website that allows you to, log some type of information. Let's say you realize that software kind of already exists, right? So you just kind of leverage that software, right? So you're not even going to create the software at all. That software creates, so you don't care about the software, you don't care about the operating system, everything. All you do is just use the software. That is software as a service, especially if it's hosted on the cloud. So these are all cloud lingo, and hopefully on some very high level, you kind of understand the difference. Like I said, today I'm going to be talking about Microsoft Azure. I work on the Azure team. I work to sell Azure on the technical team. So this slide is a little heavy, but what I wanted you guys to get out of this is that Microsoft Azure is a lot bigger than what you think it is. So when people, for those of you that think you know what the cloud is, you probably are thinking of just virtual machines somewhere else. But the cloud is a lot bigger than it, right? So especially on Microsoft Azure, you can create web applications, mobile applications on the cloud. You can even do API management on the cloud. Storage, right? We have our Cloud SQL service. We have DocumentDB, which is our own version of MongoDB. Caching system. So these are all the other things you can do on the cloud. In addition, you can also do analytics, right? So you can do a lot of machine learning stuff, big data stuff on the cloud, Power BI embedded, creating like nice visualizations. Internet of Things. So you can actually do some Internet of Things on the cloud as well. So being able to connect like your light bulb to the cloud, connecting your robot to the cloud, all that can be done on the cloud. Media. So being able to host media, right? So this is a webinar. We can host it actually on Microsoft Azure if we wanted to. And then lastly, identity management. So being able to access a directory. So let's say your company has like 50,000 users. Being able to manage all of those users is also something that we do on the cloud, and multi-factor authentication. So this is a few of the things that we do on the cloud, but the cloud again is a lot bigger than just machines on the cloud. There's so much that you can do on the cloud. Specifically for Azure, Azure is actually has more regions than any other cloud provider. We have about 38 regions around the globe, with 2 just being announced to come in Africa. There will be, I think, in South Africa at the end of during 2018. So these are all the Azure regions around the world. Again, they're just data centers. Yeah. So what are some of the benefits of the cloud? So if you remember that slide I spoke about the cloud models, instead of you doing like on-premise stuff, using the cloud, you can do fast, you can fill fast, and then you can learn fast. So you can quickly just create a web application and host it on the cloud. And you see me create it in literally 5 seconds today. So you can quickly test your application. If people are not using it, you can tear it down, right? You can also target more customers, right? So I right now live in New York, but if I wanted to create something for people in China, I can easily do that, right? I don't have to move to China to do that. There are data centers in China. And so I just create an Azure application located in China, and people can then use my thing without any latency issues. Disaster recovery. Let's say something happens to my server in my house. I don't have to deal with that on the cloud because I can easily just replicate to a different data center somewhere else. Security as well. The cloud is secure, although people don't think it's secure. It's actually very, very secure. I don't have to worry about somebody coming to steal my server or my computer. It's safe somewhere else. Someone's taking care of all that. And there are a lot of encryption models to be able to encrypt your data on the cloud. Can you guys put yourself on mute? Someone who's not on mute. And then we have competitiveness, right? So it ties back into the first thing I said. Build fast, fill fast, learn fast. So being on the cloud will allow you to compete effectively, right? So you get to start really quickly and test your applications. And if it's not working, you can move on to something else. So this is the state of the cloud currently. So obviously, AWS is Amazon's cloud. They currently have 57% of the market share, so they're definitely the most popular cloud. But Microsoft Azure is the fastest growing cloud. So as you can see, in 2016, we just had 20% of the market share, but now we're 34. So we're really growing. In fact, I think this number is bigger. But as you can see, AWS is kind of stagnant. Google is kind of coming along where they're nowhere near Azure currently. IBM, and we see people like DigitalOcean going back in life. I'm not really sure what's going on there. But it's really because people like Azure are taking up a lot of customers. Also, another statistic is that 90% of Fortune 500 companies are actually already on Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft Azure is actually growing fast, and with it coming to Africa, I mean, you're going to see this number really, really increase. So let's get started on a demo. Hopefully you walk through this demo with me. So I will advise you guys to go to azure.microsoft.com, and together we'll create an Azure account. Everybody, if this is your first time creating one, you get $200 free credits, and I'll show you how to get that. And so we can use some of the credits to do some of the things that I'm going to be showing you guys today. So why don't we all go there, azure.microsoft.com. Okay, so if you're there already, hopefully, I'm just going to give everyone like 2 seconds to get there, azure.microsoft.com. Okay, click on continue free account sign up. So for the purpose of this demo, I created an account. I'm not going to use the account at the end of the video, but I just want to show you guys, because I already have an Azure account. I just wanted to show you guys how to access the free credit. So this is a new account that I have called Africode Azure. So you just put in your actually, sorry, my bad. Create a new Microsoft account is what you want to click, because most of you don't have Microsoft accounts already. So create a new Microsoft account. Okay, and so here you want to type in your email address. Africode Azure is 9@gmail.com, and then type in your password. And then click next. And if you go to your email, it should have sent you a code. I'm going to refresh my email to see if I got the code. Not yet. Let's see if I got it under promotions. Africode Azure account. Let me see. Oh yeah. No, so now I got it. Verify your email address. Okay, so this is the code. Again, this is a dummy account, so this account is not going to exist at the end. I put in the code here and click next. Okay, so, why doesn't it allow me? Oh, okay, let's just do something else. Okay, so by now you should have gotten to this page. So quickly, just putting your name. My name is Adibisi. My last name is Odin. My email address will be Africode Azure. Again, this is a test account. Don't email us there. I'm going to put in a dummy. Also, it's going to send you a code. So it should have sent you a code to your phone. When you get the code, put it in there. So tell it to send me a text message. Okay, so I just got the code to my phone, so I'm just gonna put it in. It's 105V36. The verify code. Gonna take a minute. Perfect. So once you have that, you're going to need a credit card for this. So Azure is not going to charge you. This is just its way of verifying who you are. So this is the part where, I would advise you to, put in a credit card if you have one, a credit card number, expiration date, and all that. It's not going to charge you. You're going to get $200 free credit. I promise you, it's not going to charge you. And then once you're done, click sign up. So I'm not going to go through this process because I don't want to put my credit card in front of everybody. But once you're done, click agree and then click sign up. And you should be able to join me in my Azure portal, in the Azure portal. So I'm not sure where people are. Let me know, are people having troubles with this? Oops. So while people are doing this, let me log into my own Azure portal. And then we can start the demo there. If you have questions, please put it in the chat and I'll be happy to answer it. So by the time you've gotten all your credits, you'll be able to see something like this. But right now, I'm just going to sign in to my Microsoft account because that's what I want to use. Okay, so once you log into the Azure portal, this is what you should see. This is the dashboard. Right now, it's very basic and probably you can't see anything, but basically, you should be able to, you can use this dashboard to track your applications. Like you can see here that I have a few applications that I've created before. You can pin stuff in. I can show you how to do that later. The first thing we're going to do is to create a Linux machine. So the way that you're going to be able to do that is go to New, click on New, and click on Compute. In Compute, you'll be able to see that you can create a Windows server. You can also create an Ubuntu server. So today we're going to create an Ubuntu server. So click on Ubuntu. Actually, click on See All, just so that you can see all the applications or all the types of servers that you can create, right? So you can see that you can create a Windows server, Red Hat. So I think what I just want to make sure that I address here is that although it's Microsoft, we are definitely open to other open source platforms like Linux, for instance. So click on Ubuntu server. Let's do the Ubuntu server 16.10. Click create. So let's name our server. So I'm just going to call this Africode Mission 01. Okay. I'm going to call the username Africode. And then I want to use password. You can use SSH if you want to, but just for simplicity, I'll use password. So, okay. You can pick your subscription. I'll create a new resource group. So think of a resource group as a folder. Basically, it's a folder that you put all your resources in. So let's create Africode demo 1 as my folder. And then you click your location. So I'm currently located in the East US region, so I'll click the East US region. But if you're located in Nigeria, for instance, you can pick somewhere in the UK that might be closer to you. Let's see. Okay, there's none in the UK. Oh yeah, so UK West, UK South. You can pick one of those. Because I'm the US, I'll pick the US. If you're in the western part of the US, you can pick West US as well. So let's click OK. Okay, so click on size. As you can see, there are 3 sizes here. The cheapest is $54. So one thing to note is that Azure charges by the minute, right? So if I choose this and I delete this after an hour, it's only going to charge me for the hour. If I delete this after 30 minutes, it's only going to charge me for that 30 minutes. But if I use it for the entire month, it will charge me this. So it only charges for how much you've used, and that's one of the benefits of the cloud. So let's click on the cheapest one just because it's for a demo purpose. For storage, I'm going to make all this the default. This is really just where your D drive is going to be stored. Don't think about this too much for now. I'm just going to click on OK. So these are all your machine stats, right? You can go through them to make sure that everything is verified. What you'll notice is that it'll create the storage account, it'll create your virtual network, subnet, IP address. All that will be created for you. Let's just click on OK. Perfect. So this is going to take a while, not too long actually, probably less than a minute. But while it's creating the virtual machine, let's go and create a web application. So the way that you create a web application is, again, by going to New, going to Web and Mobile, and then going to Web Application, Web App here. Click on that. And then we'll have to call our web application something. So let's call it Africode Demo App. Okay. Africode Demo App. Again, pick your subscription. I'm going to use an existing resource group because I want to put everything in the same kind of the same folder, right? And so I think I named it Africode Demo 01. And then let's create a new app service plan. Now, app service plan is basically kind of configuring the virtual machine behind the application, web application. Let's just call that web application Africode Web App. So let's go. Location, again, because I'm located in the East US, I'm just going to click East US again. We definitely have one in the UK, so if you're in Nigeria, you should probably pick something there. The pricing tier, we have different pricing models. We have the premium tier, we have standard, we have basic, and then we have free and shared. Free is $0. Today we're going to use the free model, but there's definitely a difference between all. Right, so for instance, the free model, you get 1 gig, but you don't get custom domains, right? So if you wanted to have like africode.org to be the name of your website, or adbc.com to be your website, you wouldn't be able to do that. It'll just give you like the default web app name. So you have to upgrade to something that's about $9 or so. As you go up, there's definitely benefits to kind of going up. Not only do you get more storage, you also get custom domain, you get SSL support, and you can also scale up and down. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But for now, let's just click free, click select, click OK, and click create. So this should not take a while at all. It should really take a few seconds. But as you can see, our Ubuntu, in fact, is already deployed. As you can see, our Ubuntu server was being created. So what we should do right now is to go to our resource group. Remember that we created our resource group to be Africode Demo 01. So click on that. And what you see is our web application. So click on your Africode web application, that's the app service. And already you have a website. So if you click on, this, your URL, that is your website. It's a very simple website, obviously nothing too exciting, but you already have a website deployed into Azure. So let's make it more interesting. Let's say that you have code in GitHub, HTML, JavaScript, C#, whatever it is, and you want to kind of connect that to your web application. It's kind of easy, right? So let's do that real quick. So go to deployment option, configure source. So you can configure source from different sources, right? You can, if your code is located in Visual Studio Team Services, you can connect to that. If it's located in OneDrive, you can connect to that. If it's located in a local Git repository, you can connect to that. You can connect to GitHub, Bitbucket, Dropbox, and an external repository. But today we're going to do GitHub, so let's just click on GitHub. Okay. Here, if you hadn't already been authorized, it would ask you to kind of log into your account. I'm already logged into the Africode account, but I can change account. So because it already knows that it's AfricodeX that's logged in, that's all logged in. I'll show you all the projects that we have in AfricodeX. I'm going to pick this latest demo webpage that I created. Pick the branch. You might be in a staging branch, but this time around, all I have is master. And click OK. And really quickly, it's already setting up my deployment source. So if I go to deployment options, let's sync to ensure that the code is actually quite connected to my 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 actual website. So right now it's going to take a while to kind of build the website. So what's happening here is that, it's notice that, the code, which I can actually go to GitHub real quick so that you can actually see what is being generated. So this is probably what you're going to see. This is the code. It's a quick, simple JavaScript mapper. And so it's going to build it. Notice that's JavaScript. It's going to build the code and try to make sure that it deploys. And so if you go to the overview, you see that's already connected to that. So if I click on that, this is the code that's actually running, that will be running. Now, if you click on the website again, it should load that web page. So it might take a few seconds because the last time I think it was still building it. But yeah, here, this is the website. So you already have a website. This is like really quick, really amazing. And you can always go back and change it. Okay, one other thing that I want you guys to notice is that as people access this website, you can actually see telemetry on that here. So let's try to access this website multiple times. Let me just keep refreshing. Let me see if I can click it again. What you notice is that, you see a spike over here. So actually, let's go back and see. Go back here. You should see a spike, right? So people are already accessing your website, right? So I had 2 requests, no errors, right? So this is really great because you get to see telemetry about, your website, who's using your website and all that. And you can click on that to even get into more details in your website. But right now I wouldn't do that, but that's definitely an option. One other thing you can also do is scale up or scale out. So remember when we created our website, we created the free tier. So let's say after a while we realize, oh my God, I don't think I can do the free tier anymore. I want something more sophisticated. So let's say that I want like, a basic model, which is about $55 because I want custom domain and I definitely want to leverage the 10 gig storage option. All you need to do to scale up is just click on that and click select. And right there and then you've already scaled up your application to the newest tier. That's all you have to do. And so now it's going to charge you for the few minutes that we created the website. From when we created the website to right now, it will charge me for the free tier, which is nothing. This is the time when it's going to start charging me for the basic the basic tier that I just activated. And also remember, it's going to charge you per minute. So you're only going to get charged for what you use. There's also something called scaling out. So scaling out means that as you're getting so many users on your application, right? So let's say that you want to be able to scale out your application. So you want to scale the virtual machines behind your web application to more virtual machines, right? You don't need to go recreate another web application. All you need to do is to say, hey, I want you to scale out for me up to 3. Once there's like high CPU, for instance, right? So you can just scale that up for me. So as more people are using my web application, I don't want it to be slow. I don't want any latency issues. I want you to please increase the memory. So instead of having just 10 gig, you now would have 30 gig of memory. So that's really cool. You can also activate auto scale. So if we go back to scale up, I believe you can only activate auto scale at the standard tier. So the basic tier, you cannot activate auto scale. So let me explain what auto scale is. So let's go to the standard tier. Let's click select, right? And then I'm going to go back to scale out. And then you see here, let's recreate the logic. So again, like I said, I want to increase the instances to 3 if like, let's say a lot of people are accessing my website. So let's enable auto scale. Now, auto scale is basically an automatic upgrade, right? So what that means is that right now I'm only going to be, on one standard tier. But as more people are using my website, as it's getting slower, it's going to increase the amount of memory. So let's say right now I only have 10 gigs. As more people are using my application, it'll increase it, it increases it a little bit, and it'll continue to increase it until it gets to 3 standard tier. So you don't have to do anything. Azure will take care of all that for you. You don't have to write anything in your code. Azure will take care of all that for you. So let's name this Africode this here. Make sure I can show you how that worked, how it worked. So let's add a rule, for instance. So we want to do this based off metrics. So basically, it's going to say the average, let's say the average CPU percentage. Or we can do memory percentage, but let's just say CPU percentage. And the threshold is about 70%. So if it's about 70% for like 10 minutes, I want you to increase the count by 1. So increase it by 1 every time that the CPU usage is about 70%. Basically is what that's saying. So let's add that rule. And let's save this. So basically what's going to happen again, like I said, is that every time it increases by 70%, we're going to increase the instances that we have. So this is our rule. Again, like I said, you don't have to write any code. Nothing's going to happen. Azure takes care of all that for you. That's what we call platform as a service. We're actually taking care of all that for you. Okay. We also have a console. So something to notice is that we actually have a console here. You can access the code from here. You can actually edit the code from here and do whatever you want. So if I do ls, you can see all the code, which is basically what you would see if I go to this GitHub. All this here is what you should be able to see here. And you can see into some of this directories here, CSS, ls, and do whatever you want to do there. I'm not going to do anything, but that's definitely available to you as well. One thing to also know that this is actually available in mobile as well. So you can actually write code in mobile. So this is a very good dinner conversation. You know, talking to your spouse and like, oh, I want to quickly add a session to my web application and debug some stuff. Yeah, you could do that. One last thing I wanted to show is alerts, right? So let's say, for instance, you also want to get alerts, right? There's definitely that auto scale, which is great. Things will be scaling up as the CPU or as people are using your application. But let's say you wanted to get an email alert when like a CPU is up to 70%. So let's add an alert. So we want to add it for our website. Let's call this the website alert. Let's call it Africode, for Africode web alert, right? Metrics, all the way up. We want the conditions to be greater than, and here, oops, let's go back. Kind of a cool little slidey thing. Here, we wanted the threshold to be 70. And a period of over 10 minutes, kind of like how auto scale is. All you need to do is just put your email address. So Africode Azure at gmail.com and click OK. And now we're going to start getting alerts once your CPU is then greater than 70%, which I think is a very nifty tool. Oops. Perfect. Why do I have a warning? Okay, I'm just going to ignore that for now. So that's really all I wanted to show you guys about Azure websites. It's really cool, as you can see now, because nobody's accessing it, it's gone down, which is really cool. So there's a lot of other things you can definitely explore, but you know, to get started, I've shown you guys probably the basic things that you need to get an application up and running. Okay, now that we have an application, let's actually go back to our Linux machine. It should have been created. All your notifications should come up here. So you should be able to get notifications. Somewhere up here should have said my Linux application had succeeded. I can't really see it, but the way that I can verify is, again, I can go to resource groups, demo 01, and I'll be able to see my virtual machine. So my virtual machine is this. This is my machine, Africode machine 01. And what's nice is that it's not only created the machine, it's created the storage account, the virtual network, the IP address, the network security groups, and things like that. I don't want to go into details to what this means, but this is really what you would have to do yourself if you were to go the PaaS route. So let's click on the machine. Again, you already kind of see statistics about the machine, the disk bytes, the CPU, and things like that. And this is really, really good for kind of debugging and monitoring purposes. Okay. Let's connect to this machine. So I'm going to click connect. And you can connect to this machine by using SSH. Again, I'm going to delete all this at the end of this tutorial, so you would not be able to access this. but you should be able to access your own machine. So copy that. If you have PuTTY or any kind of terminal to be able to access a Linux machine, you can quickly SSH into that. But I use Git Bash because I'm on a Windows machine. So use Git Bash. And I can just paste that. Yes. And remember the password that I had to put when I created my account? That's what I'm going to put here. Perfect. So now we are connected into a Linux machine from our Windows computer. This is a virtual machine. I can make directory, test, I can cd into test, I can vi some things if I wanted to. Like you can just do whatever you do usually in a Linux machine. So really nice. So again, like I said, a lot of people when they think of Microsoft, they're not thinking of other, other open source applications or other like machines as well. But Microsoft is definitely very open to other operating systems as well. So let's stop this. I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but like I said, creating a Windows machine, if you wanted to, is just as easy as, again, clicking new, compute, going to Windows, whatever kind of server you want to create, you can do that. So that's really all I had. Just really wanted to show you the power of Azure because a lot of people are not familiar with some of the things, right? So like I said, compute, you can definitely create a lot of machines. One thing I wanted to say is that we have a virtual machine skill set. A virtual machine skill set is kind of creating multiple machines at once. And you can create up to 1,000 machines at once. So instead of you creating one machine at a time, you can create 1,000 virtual machines all at once. Networking layers, definitely we have virtual networks, we have application gateways, load balancers that you can leverage, DNS zone and things like route tables, express route if you don't want to connect to the internet. It's a very private network. For storage, we certainly have our storage accounts like blobs, we have tables and queues, our data lake store for big data, store simple for cold storage, and things like that. So there's definitely a lot to be leveraged in Azure. Web and mobile, not only do we have a web app, which is what we did today, you can also create a mobile application. You can create a mobile application on Linux as well. And some Azure Search, which is basically like Elasticsearch. API management, so you can manage APIs, create keys and things like that from Azure as well. Databases, right? So you can also create a PaaS SQL database. You can create an SQL Elastic database pool. As data factories also again for big data. Redis cache for caching. We also have a DocumentDB, like I said. DocumentDB is a version of like MongoDB. Data and analytics, again, we have a machine learning web service. You can do some of our cognitive services. You can create a bot really easy in Azure. AI and cognitive services, so you can definitely leverage a lot of our APIs like computer vision API, face API, search API, Bing spell check. There's so many APIs that you can leverage. Internet of Things, this is actually one of my focuses at Microsoft, but you can connect devices to the cloud. So for instance, connecting your light bulb to the cloud, connecting a robot to the cloud, and doing some interesting analytics and collecting interesting telemetry on those. There's a lot of other things that you could do, but those are really probably like a good starting point. Security and identity, key vaults, being able to lock up your keys and store them. We have our Azure Active Directory, so a directory for companies that want to manage user management. Developer tools like DevTest Lab. So one of the questions that a lot of my customers will ask me is, okay, I want to start testing Azure. Where do I start? We have our Dev Test Labs, and our Dev Test Labs is like a lab basically where you can start testing, and then seamlessly move from there to production. We have monitoring and management, right? So application insights. You can get a lot of telemetry about users, who's clicking on what, when did they click, how many users, what's the error that they're facing. You can also get like alerts from that as well. So there's a lot Azure has to offer. A lot of people think of Azure and they're only thinking of virtual machines, but there's a lot that Azure has to offer. So that's the end of my webinar today. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
I have a question. So I'm trying to understand what's the real difference between scaling up versus scaling out?
Sure, that's a good question. So the question is, what's the difference between scaling up and scaling out? So let's go back to our virtual, our resource group. By the way, we need to delete the resource group. So let's go back. So this is the web application. So I can show you what scaling up means. So scaling up, you're basically either going up or down. So scaling up or down, right? So remember that we were on the free tier before, right? And we went up to the standard tier. So that's what scaling up means. It means you're going from one level to a different level. Scaling out means you're adding. So right now, I am currently, let me go back. I'm currently on the standard. So I have one standard machine. Scaling out means that you're going to have multiple standard machines. So remember when I said it was up to 3? So scaling out means that you're going to have 3 standard machines. So the more people are using your website, you can continue to increase it up to 3 standard tiers. So right now, for instance, let's go back to standard, right? So standard, I get like 1.75 gig of RAM. If I have 3 of that, I'm going to get 1.5 times 3, right? 50 gig of storage. I'm going to have 150 gig of storage, right? So that's scaling out. You're adding 3 of one type of machine. Scaling up, you're going from one to the other. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes, makes sense. So there's no cost for scaling out, just for scaling up.
There's a cost. There's clearly a cost. Good question. So there's definitely a cost. So if you're going to do scale up, if you're going to scale up, you're going to pay this price. So before it was free. So let me scale down, right? I just scaled down to this. So now I'm going to be paying $0, right? But to scale out, if I chose 3 of this, I'm going to pay 3 times whatever this price is.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, that's about all my questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. If you have any more questions, please email us at info.africode@gmail.com. Again, my name is Adebisi. Thank you.